Hey, this is Mr. Ayton. This is Pre-AP Chemistry. We're finishing out Unit 14, Kinetics. This is week 32. What are we going to take a look at in week 32? Well, we took a look at so much in week 31. We took a look at how to find the rate law. We found half-lives, all these different things. Well, in week 32, we're going to be zeroing in on the collision model. We're going to take a look at catalysts. And last, we're going to take a look at mechanisms of a chemical reaction. So first, let's start with the collision model. What does the collision model mean? It means that particles must collide with two things in order for a chemical reaction to occur. You have to have the right amount of activation energy or the right amount of kinetic energy. If it doesn't have the right amount of kinetic energy, you won't break bonds. Remember, breaking bonds is positive energy. And you also need to have the correct collision with the correct orientation as well. If you don't have enough energy, you don't have a chemical reaction. If you don't have enough energy hitting at the right place, you don't have the right chemical reaction. And so we call that the collision model, we call that a effective collision. An effective collision has the amount of kinetic energy and the correct orientation. Well, what do catalysts do? Catalysts lower the activation energy, or the energy you need to break a bond. And how does it do that? Well, it provides a new pathway for the chemical reaction. You can see in this first graph here, there's a large activation energy in the black curve, okay? A large, that's no catalyst. It's going to be a lot slower of a reaction. But you can see with the catalyst, there's a whole bunch of different steps it has to go through, but there's less energy overall, which means it takes less energy with the catalyst, less activation energy, and therefore your reaction will occur much faster. If we take a look at this Boltzmann distribution here, you can see the area under the green is the original number of particles that have enough energy. Now, keep in mind, not all of those are going to react because they have to collide, those particles have to collide with the correct amount of, the correct orientation. But at least they have the sufficient amount of energy. So what does a catalyst do? It lowers that activation energy, and when it lowers that activation energy, it increases the area, the number of particles that have the sufficient amount of energy to react. And so you have a greater amount of chances or probability of having a chemical reaction with a catalyst. Now we're going to move on to what's called mechanisms. Not all reactions happen in one step. Actually, most reactions, especially biological reactions, reactions in your body, happens over multiple steps, which you can see those are called mechanisms. And you can see this reaction right here, if we wanted to know what the full reaction is, the overall reaction, we're going to take a look at everything on the left-hand side and everything on the right-hand side. Does anything cancel out? And you see the NO3 gas cancels out. It's on the right-hand side here. It's on the left-hand side here. It cancels out. You can see we have NO2 and NO2. One of those are going to cancel out. One of those are going to cancel out. And that's what we have. We have NO2 gas plus carbon monoxide gas. And that's going to make NO gas and CO2 gas. So this is the reaction that happens overall. That's the reaction that's going to happen overall. Now, you can see if that reaction happens overall, it didn't happen in one step. It actually happened in two different steps here, And we can see we have a thing called an intermediate. An intermediate is a substance that's produced, like the NO3, it's produced, and then it's used right away in your reaction. And so NO3 would be called an intermediate. It's not part of the reaction, ultimately, because it cancels out, but it's something that's made and then used right away. Now, we also have a thing called a catalyst. A catalyst is a substance at the beginning and a substance at the end. Did you see the NO2? Right here, that was a catalyst. One of those particles of NO2 was a catalyst there. It was there at the beginning and there at the end. It wasn't part of your overall chemical reaction. Okay? Now, we can determine the rate law from, and I'm going to erase all of this, we can determine the rate law from the slowest step. The slowest step is your rate determining step. So let's say this first step is a slow step. Your second step is a fast step of the reaction. So in this slow step, how many moles of NO2 did I need to break in order for my reaction to occur? My rate is dependent upon 2 moles of the NO2. And so that is second order overall with respect to the NO2. So that was if the first step was your slow step, because the first step, if you kind of keep in mind, the first step had the higher activation energy. The second step had another activation energy, but the first step was the slowest step. It had the highest activation energy. So the first step determined your rate. It determined how fast your reaction occurred. Now, let's just say the second step, and I'm going to erase all of this again. Let's say the second step was your slow step. So the first step is very fast. The second step is your rate determining step. How many moles of NO2 did I have to go through? I had to go through 2 moles of the NO2. So that's NO2 squared. The NO3 was an intermediate. And I also had to go through 1 mole of the carbon monoxide. And so you can see 2 moles of the NO2, 1 mole, so it would be second order and first order, because your rate was dependent upon the breaking of these bonds here, okay? And so that is called mechanisms. Let me give you one more example here. You can see we have a 3-step mechanism, and you can see the first step is fast, the second step is slow, ding, 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 ding. The second step is your rate determining step. That's going to determine the rate. And think of it, we have an intermediate right there, N2O2. How many moles of NO do we need to break? We need to break 2 moles of NO, so it's second order with respect to the NO, first order with respect to the H2, and here we have our rate law. Rate equals K times NO squared. Why is it squared? Because it depends on 2 moles of the NO. It's second order with respect to the NO, and it also depends on the H2. It's first order with respect to the H2. Okay, you can see the N2O2 is an intermediate. Also, the N2O is an intermediate because those are being made and then used, But this last mole of H2 doesn't really matter in terms of the rate because that is in the fast step, not in the rate determining step. So we can figure out the orders of reactions using mechanisms. And that finishes us out for Unit 14 Kinetics, Week 32, Pre-AP Chemistry. See ya. Bye.